Have you ever considered what truly makes global commerce move, even in the smallest, most unsung corners? We're talking about things you might never even notice, but honestly, without them, the world's supply chains, they just grind to a halt. So today, we're taking a deep dive into one of those unsung heroes, the bulk bag
Oh,
market.
yeah, it's the FIBCs, those massive woven bags.
Exactly. You see them moving everything, right?
Right.
Grains, chemicals, construction materials, all over the world. Our mission today is basically to take this stack of sources we have, specifically market research from cognitive market research, and really unpack the surprising scale and, the details of the global bulk bag market. We want to pull out the most important nuggets about how it performed back in 2021, look at projections for 2025, and then peek ahead to 2033. We'll focus on how different regions, different countries are driving this, it's fascinating, quiet growth. Just to give you a sense of the scale here. The global market was valued at nearly $3.7 billion in 2021.
Already a substantial number.
Right. And it's not just sitting there. It's set for some pretty significant expansion. Projections show it reaching over $4.5 billion by 2025, and then, get this, ballooning to nearly $7 billion by 2033.
And what's truly fascinating there is that consistent upward curve, that growth, specifically the compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, which just tells us the average annual growth over that time. It's about 5.5% globally.
5.5%, that's steady.
It really is. And it signals something fundamental and tells us these bags aren't just like a convenience. They are a pervasive, essential component in moving goods and materials on a large scale across so many industries worldwide.
Yeah.
The steady expansion, it really indicates a deep-seated growing need for efficient, large-scale packaging and transport. It's almost like a barometer for global industrial activity.
It really is. Okay, so let's jump into the regional breakdown then. Why don't we kick things off with North America?
That sounds good.
This region generated a substantial $1.4 billion back in 2021, and that's projected to rise to over $2.6 billion by 2033, growing at an average rate of, about 5.2% per year?
It's a solid pace.
Within North America, the U.S., it takes the lion's share, nearly $935 million in 2021, and the forecast there is over $1.6 billion by 2033. So a huge mature market, but still showing pretty solid growth, around 4.96% CAGR. But here's where it gets interesting, I think. Canada actually shows stronger projected growth.
Oh.
Yeah, their market was about $316 million in 2021. It's expected to more than double, though, to over $645 million by 2033. That gives it a KGR of just over 6%. That's a noticeable jump compared to the U.S., right?
You've definitely hit on a key point there. I mean, while the U.S. market is vast, it's mature, Canada's higher growth rate, it might be down to a mix of factors, maybe something more specific than just general resource demand.
Like what, potentially?
Well, we could be seeing increased demand from, say, their expanding agriculture or forestry sectors. Those are big users. Or maybe even new large-scale mining projects where, handling bulk material is absolutely critical.
That makes sense.
It just suggests a more concentrated acceleration in certain industrial activities up there. And Mexico contributes significantly too, of course, growing from around $187 million in 2021, expected to reach nearly $330 million by 2033. About 4.87% CAGR there.
Okay, so moving across the pond then to Europe. Europe's market clocked in at over $914 million in 2021, and the estimate there is growth to almost $1.7 billion by 2033, expanding at about a 5.3% CAGR. Pretty consistent.
It's very steady. Yeah.
Germany and the UK are certainly leading the charge in terms of, sheer value. Germany saw revenues near $189 million in 2021, projected to hit over $364 million by 2033. That's about 5.6% growth. But the UK, it's showing some serious momentum, growing from about $115 million in 2021, projected to over $223 million by 2033. That gives it a really impressive CAGR, over 6.3%.
Interestingly, other notable players in Europe include France, climbing to over $225 million by 2033, and Italy, rising to nearly $118 million. Interestingly, Russia's growth rate is a bit lower, about 4.3%.
But check this out. The real eyebrow raiser in Europe, for me anyway, is the rest of Europe category.
Ah, yes.
This segment is actually showing the highest growth in the entire region. It jumped from a smaller base, about $43 million in 2021, but it's heading towards almost $98 million by 2033. That's a whopping 7.5% CAGR.
That collective surge in the rest of Europe, it's a fascinating indicator, isn't it?
It really is. What do you think it signifies?
Well, it doesn't pinpoint one single country, obviously. But it suggests that a diverse group of, let's say, smaller, maybe emerging economies, or perhaps specific developing industrial sectors within those nations, are rapidly adopting these bulk bag solutions.
So modernization, maybe?
Could be. Could be expanding intra-European trade, modernization of logistics, particularly maybe in Eastern European countries, or even specific industries like construction or chemicals just ramping up production in those areas.
So broader growth.
Exactly. It implies a broader, more distributed industrial growth beyond just the traditional big players in Europe.
All right, let's shift our focus now. Asia Pacific. Clearly a powerhouse for future growth.
Definitely one to watch.
It was valued at over $750 million back in 2021, set to reach an impressive $1.55 billion by 2033. That's a strong 6.1% CAGR, and what immediately jumps out here is India. Truly remarkable growth.
Yes, India's numbers are striking.
Going from just under $98 million in 2021, projected to $227 million by 2033. That's a phenomenal 7% CAGR. I mean, what kind of foundational shifts do you think are really accelerating this demand for bulk bags, specifically in India?
Well, India's rapid growth in this market, it's deeply connected to its overall economic development, its industrialization push.
Yeah.
The Make in India initiative.
Great infrastructure.
Exactly. As a large developing economy, there's this immense expansion in sectors like infrastructure huge road projects, building projects, but also construction generally, agriculture, chemicals, pharmaceuticals.
All big bulk users.
Precisely. All these industries need efficient, cost-effective ways to transport and store materials in bulk. And just the sheer scale of India's population, its growing manufacturing base, its export ambitions, it all means a huge accelerating demand for the logistical solutions that bulk bags offer.
Yeah.
It's a very clear signal of their, let's call it industrial metabolism ramping up.
That paints a very clear picture, yeah. Okay, so China also contributes significantly, showing strong growth too, moving from over $143 million in 2021 to over $305 million by 2033. That's a 6.4% CAGR. Still very strong.
Very solid.
Japan, while it's a larger market, over $203 million in 2021, has a slightly lower CAGR, about 5.3%, expected to reach nearly $390 million by 2033. And Singapore, growing from $110 million to almost $217 million in that period, about 5.6% growth there.
So strong growth across the board in Asia Pacific, really.
Definitely feels that way. So let's head south, South America. This region's market recorded about $179 million in 2021, projected to hit over $320 million by 2033. That's a 5.1% CAGR overall.
Right.
Brazil and Argentina are the largest contributors here. Brazil's set to grow from nearly $61 million in 2021 to over $112 million by 2033. And Argentina from almost $45 million to over $82 million over that same time frame, both hovering around 5.2% CAGR.
Right. And what's maybe interesting to note there is the, well, relatively modest growth of the rest of South America compared to other Western regions we've seen.
How so?
It's showing a lower CAGR, around 2.7%. So while Brazil and Argentina are expanding at a healthy pace, this lower collective growth might indicate that some other parts of the continent aren't seeing quite the same level of industrial or logistical modernization that would really drive bulk bag demand.
So more variation within the continent.
Yeah, it highlights the varied economic landscapes and perhaps differing paces of industrial development within South America.
Okay, shifting focus again, the Middle East. This is another region showing incredibly strong growth.
Yes, another dynamic area.
Valued at over $219 million in 2021. Expected to more than double to over $444 million by 2033. That's a powerful 6% CAGR. Saudi Arabia is leading the charge, growing to almost $200 million by 2033. That's about 6.4% growth. But the UAE, that really stands out. An impressive 6.7% CAGR, expanding from just under $23 million in 2021 to nearly $50 million by 2033.
Almost 7%, yeah.
What specific large-scale drivers do you think are fueling such rapid growth in places like the UAE? Is it just oil and gas related?
Well, the impressive growth in the UAE and other parts of the Middle East, too, it's strongly tied to their big economic diversification efforts.
Moving beyond oil.
Exactly. They're investing heavily in sectors beyond oil and gas.
Right.
Building out massive infrastructure projects, establishing themselves as global logistics and trade hubs. So this includes huge development in manufacturing, petrochemicals, construction, even new areas like food processing industries. All these sectors create a consistent, growing demand for efficient bulk material handling. And bulk bags, they just fit that need perfectly within these rapidly evolving economies.
Makes sense. Okay, finally, let's talk about Africa.
Right.
This continent is poised for some of the highest regional growth globally. The market was valued over $153 million in 2021, expected to reach over $321 million by 2033. That's a high 6.4% CAGR overall.
That is significant growth potential.
Within Africa, South Africa is really leading the growth charge, jumping from almost $39 million to over $86 million by 2033.
Yeah.
That marks the region's fastest growth, an incredible 7.1% CAGR.
Over 7%. Wow.
And Nigeria also shows significant contribution, growing from over $70 million to over $154 million in the same period, about 6.8% growth there.
So the rapid expansion in African markets like South Africa and Nigeria, it really suggests a significant acceleration. Industrialization, infrastructure development, agricultural output, maybe all three across parts of the continent.
It feels like a big shift.
It's a profound shift, potentially, for global supply chains.
Yeah.
And it raises an important question, doesn't it?
Which is?
Are these countries becoming increasingly vital hubs for, say, raw material processing and export, which drives demand for efficient bulk packaging? Or is it more about serving their own burgeoning domestic industrial and consumer markets? Or maybe a mix?
Could be both.
Either way, it signals a very dynamic period for these economies and, consequently, for the bulk bag market there. So just to kind of summarize the overall picture here, the global bulk bag market, it's far from being some static or niche industry, right? It's experiencing consistent, robust expansion.
Yeah.
It's truly foundational. It supports a huge range of industries, stretches across pretty much all geographies, from the established economies to the rapidly developing ones.
And what stands out to me really is how a seemingly simple product like a bulk bag is such an integral, yet often unseen, part of this massive interconnected global trade network. It just highlights the steady expansion and, the modernization of industries all over the world. And we've definitely seen those standout growth regions and countries today, Asia Pacific, especially India, Africa, with South Africa and Nigeria leading the pack, the Middle East, particularly the UAE, all showing incredibly dynamic growth.
And that's alongside the solid, steady expansion we're still seeing in North America and Europe.
Exactly. So it leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What does the quiet, consistent growth of something as fundamental as bulk bags really tell us about the foundational shifts happening in the global economy? And maybe what other industries might be quietly booming right under our noses?
That's a great thought to end on. Something for everyone to mull over.
Definitely. Something to think about until our next deep dive.